It seems Mercedes have fallen into a repeating cycle week after week, and they just cannot escape. The opening races of the season from round 1 in Bahrain to round 5 in China have been a real case of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. The team, and especially its principal, keep promising over and over again that the pace is there. Everything points to them being fast, and something unconceived is holding them back, with the first 2 races being a case of, oh, just wait until next time, and the recent rounds being, we're working to figure it out. Well, after China, the tone has seemed to shift slightly, and it's taken some time to digest just what the future holds for Mercedes, and more importantly, if their promises of performance can even be believed. Not only that, but the attitude of the Brackley team has soured an old rival's mood, causing them to lash out at Mercedes, and more specifically, the team principal. At the end of the day, maybe the best thing would be for Mercedes to keep their mouths shut until they can bring a competitive racing car, but it doesn't seem that that is going to happen anytime soon. Want to know what Toto Wolff has done to receive such heavy public backlash this weekend? We're sure he thought his comments were in the sporting spirit, but others in the paddock seem to have disagreed. And stick around, because the missing pieces at Mercedes remain a mystery to the team, but all signs point towards one central issue, and it seems there's only one man in charge of correcting the team's course, and it is not Toto Wolff. So let's start off with Toto Wolff receiving quite the slap on the wrist this weekend. Wolff drew the ire of his long-term rival Christian Horner this weekend after being, as deemed by Horner, a little bit too outspoken about the future of current Red Bull driver and 3-time world champion Max Verstappen. Such was Christian's frustration, perhaps due to the nature of the insecurity surrounding Verstappen's future originating from his own controversy and allegations of workplace malpractice at the start of the year, that he hit back hard against the Mercedes team principal and made sure to get plenty of jabs in while doing so. So what exactly was it that Toto said that frustrated Christian so much? Well, following being seen speaking to Christian's recent critic and father of Max, Jos Verstappen, Toto said this in regards to Max's future. There are so many factors that play a role in a driver joining. Clearly, when you look at it from the most rational point of view, you can say that's the quickest car in the hands of the quickest driver. But I don't think this is the only reason you stay where you are. Let's say, simple minds, that might be the only reason why you stay in a car, and that's it, but maybe there are more depths for more people that consider other factors too. I think Max has that. Wolff would go on to, despite Mercedes' current form, insinuate that Max may well be playing the long game in terms of considering a Red Bull exit, saying it's not necessarily about making a move this year, but considering the best place for himself in the new regulations. As Wolff continued, in that respect, are we able to convince him? I don't think it's a matter of convincing. I think that Max knows motor racing better than anyone. He will take decisions that he feels are good for him. I think a few factors play a role, but he's the one that is going to trigger some more domino stones to fall in afterwards. Everybody is waiting for what he's going to do. If I was Max, I would stay at Red Bull in 2025, but I'm not Max. It's the quickest car, but there are still other factors. Clearly, Wolff's insinuations are surrounding the behind-the-scenes turmoil that Red Bull has experienced early on this season, which Horner has been the center of, as well as rumors of a struggling engine program. And it seems, judging from the Red Bull team principal's response, that this has been taken personally, or perhaps this was the statement that pushed his patience with his rival over the edge after months of gamesmanship surrounding his current driver. In reaction to Toto Wolff's recent comments about Verstappen, Christian Horner had this to say: I'm going to think very carefully about what I say here. Have you spoken to Max about this? Because if you speak to Max, and it's not about pieces of paper at the end of the day, we know that he has a contract to the end of 2028. It's about how he feels in the team and the relationship he has with the team and the way he's performing. Horner would then insinuate that the problems at Mercedes should be focused on and aren't limited to the driver situation following Hamilton's exit, implying that there is a far deeper rot at the team that needs addressing before Wolff considers acquiring the unacquirable. I don't think Toto's problems are his drivers. I think he's probably got other elements that he needs to be focusing on rather than focusing on drivers that are unavailable. I don't know how many more times he needs to say it. He's said it numerous times. I'm not going to get drawn into it. I think sometimes it's just designed to create noise. However, it seems that Horner would indeed be drawn into it, as he fired a barrage of shots at Mercedes. One key one being that Red Bull had now moved above Mercedes in terms of modern F1 victories, moving to 117 at China, followed by another one prodding at their current impotency on track and inability to make satisfactory changes in the car's direction at the factory level. Today, we moved ahead of the number of races that Mercedes has won in the modern era, so the team is in form. Why on earth would you want to leave this team? Mercedes are the third team behind their customers at the moment, so I think his time would be better spent perhaps focusing on the team rather than the driver market. Have any of you heard George Russell is out of contract at the end of 2025? You know, maybe he might not be so keen to stay in 26. You know, the market moves around. I can assure you that there is no ambiguity as to where Max Verstappen will be next year. So while Horner may not have achieved his goal of not getting drawn into it, he may have inadvertently hit the nail on the head in terms of the issues that Mercedes are facing. Over the course of the sprint event this weekend, Hamilton demonstrated something that will likely cause the comments to go into a frenzy at us. So for all the people that just spew hatred against Hamilton for some reason, tuck in your bibs. And to all the Hamilton ride-or-dies who think we have nothing but praise for your god, go back into your padded cell. He isn't winning another championship. However, Hamilton isn't washed. That's right, Mercedes' issues right now have nothing to do with their drivers. It seems that between third and fourth fastest is just where Mercedes' current potential lies, and this is massively disappointing for all parties involved. However, it does perhaps direct the cause of the issues away from the track and to something far more fundamental in the direction, or rather directions, that the team has taken over the past few years. There's a few different causes for this, too many for this video in fact, so please keep your eyes peeled as we'll likely follow up on this later on in the week. But a big one that cannot be ignored is Mercedes yet again whiffing on the technical direction of the car. If you cast your mind back, the current man heading the technical direction tried to walk off into the sunset after dominating the sport for 7 years, making him possibly the second greatest living technical director behind Adrian Newey, and for some people the greatest. However, he was yanked back into the fold after his replacement, Mike Elliott, absolutely fumbled the opportunity of heading the technical direction of the Mercedes team. Within 6 months, Elliott backed away from the limelight and made way for his replacement, who was none other than his massively successful predecessor who wanted nothing more than some quiet time in a less public role. If this sounds like a step backwards to you, that's because it is, and Horner's insinuation that there is something more complicated than the driver situation going on at Mercedes is dead right. And it all comes down to the technical side of the team being borderline aimless at the moment. But the computer says has been the main response from Mercedes, and either there is something wrong with the data, the computer, or the interpretation, because things are just not adding up somewhere along the line. BBC F1 journalist Andrew Benson, however, thinks that the crux of the issue is nothing to do with James Allison and his leadership within the role. And while this may be true, he does recognize that something is deeply wrong with the Mercedes technical division, as the journalist had this to say on the Checkered Flag podcast. The issue isn't a management issue, it's a technical understanding issue. Wolff isn't designing the car, the issue is the car design. Now, so maybe that passes the question on to the technical department. Are they going to make changes there? Maybe, but are they likely to replace James Allison as technical director? I would be absolutely dumbstruck if they did. James Allison is incredibly highly regarded. Most people would regard him as the second best technical leader in Formula 1 behind Adrian Newey. I think most people would think they'd lost their marbles if they got rid of Allison. So, while retreading their steps by reappointing Allison may not have been the thing that started the team on their current spiral, it's certainly up to him to steady the ship. As Benson said, it's not a management issue. As Horner said, it's not a driver issue. So, how will the lead man at Mercedes fix this technical issue? The first answer may come as soon as Miami, as Mercedes have confirmed that they will be bringing a pretty substantial upgrade to the upcoming sprint weekend over on the East Coast. Whether they can be believed on the efficacy of said package, well, we'll have to wait and see.